Good morning. Sanmanali. Sanmanali. Goedemorgen. Sanmona foot. Goedemorgen. Nah. KZN has always been said to be a bit problematic because, of our ethnic linguistic history as a province. So I'd like to welcome you all, firstly, to our gathering. Of course, it's not an official welcome, but just to say, please make sure that where you are seated, that there's a plaque or program which contains some details about today's conference. Please ensure that in the gathering that you also have your phone on vibrate, so that you can be able to not disrupt or interrupt the proceedings for today. And I'm not going to say put it on silent, I'm not going to say put it off, because I recognize each of you are very busy in your own right. And so you might have some emergencies as a result thereof. So we'd like for us to be able to start today's proceedings. And in doing so, I'd like to invite the Executive Director for the Democracy Development Program to please join us at the front in conducting a welcome. We do recognize that we have colleagues from the media, colleagues from what they call it, the fourth estate, the fourth estate. We encourage that all of you who have particular sides that you prefer to be photographed on, that you let us know. Otherwise, we will take whatever picture we want and publish it online. Okay. Of course, in doing so, we also want to ensure that today's discussion is one that doesn't center just the people who will be provoking the discussions in front, but that you as a citizen, you as an activist, you as a media person, you as someone who has practical experience in local governments, have a voice, a valid one in that sense. And so a lot of the discussion will be provoked or prompted by part of what's going to be discussed at the front, but ultimately we want the discussions to happen at the tables themselves. So find time during the course of the day to also introduce yourself to whoever you're seated around. Hopefully you're not seated to people who you're familiar with, who you might have been in a campaign with at some point, who you might have, gone on marches with only, but yet you find people that you might have marched against. Or trying to lobby to try and do something in local government for you. So, of course, Dr. Paul Kariuki, please welcome. Please, everyone, please ignore the picture that's at the front. It's just, as a Zulu man, it's important to credit every now and then. Watching this, was now really good. Of course, Dr. Paul Kariuki will now welcome us officially on behalf of the organization. A round of applause to him, please.
Good morning, and thank you all for coming this morning and braving the early morning traffic to be here with us this morning to have this great conversation that we think is going to provoke useful conversations about reimagining our local government sphere, given the context of our country right now and the things that have been going on. And I feel that it's going to be a very insightful conversation because firstly, you are here and brought your experiences with you. And secondly, because of the lineup of our experts that are here today to help us really unpack this conversation and make it as meaningful to us. And I hope that as we leave this place today, you leave this room inspired, and you'll also leave this room with some expectation of something that we would like to do that will better our communities and our municipality. It's very well timed because next year, as we all know, we are preparing towards the local government elections. So it's very important that we all get ourselves ready and inspired to participate, of course, but also to make sure that we exercise our civic responsibility. But before I go further, I would like first of all to acknowledge our DAP board led by our chairperson, David Rajab, just walked in, and our board members who are here for gracing this opportunity to be with us also and engage with our conversations. Shortly, we're going to have the MEC walking into a room, and we're going to have also an opportunity to engage with him. We also acknowledge Brian has also acknowledged the presence of media partners here in this room, and most of you are civil society partners that have always supported the work of the DDP. We do not take that for granted, and really thank you so much for making time and continuation of encouraging us as we continue to do this work as a collective. And I believe that as we go throughout the program today, I hope that you do most to make sure that you are interacting and networking. And in this kind of a room, things do happen. And I would like you to make them happen for yourself. We've done all the work we can to gather all of you here today, but please don't leave without making network that will help you in the work that you're doing, and even mobilizing others to support, including ourselves. And so I feel very honored that we've had the chance like we have today to really delve into the issue that we were going to, I'm sure you had a glance at our program, and I think it's going to be a very insightful conversation. So on behalf of the DDP team, first I would like you to give a round of applause for this team that has worked so hard to put. Shall we go ahead and do that? A round of applause. It's quite a lot of effort to put this kind of an intervention together. It takes us at least 8 months on a minimum to prepare to do what we're doing here. As you can see, it's almost a whole affair because we want to make sure that your participation, your time is really meaningful. And I thank even our founders, Conrad and Neil Stifton, Greg will be walking in just shortly, for their support, because we cannot do any of this without their ongoing support and belief in the work of the DDP. So those few words, I would like to welcome you. Please enjoy our hospitality and engage. Thank you so much. Okay, right, let's go out. Okay, so
colleagues, as we welcome the MEC to join us in the meeting. As we walk to the front, can we please invite Dr. Debbie Rajab to please join us on the stage so that she can give the opening remarks for 3 to 5 minutes, please. Rajab, you can join us on the stage. Thank you very much. We may take our seats. All right, you can have Dr. Rajab please on the stage. So I'm doing a very unpopular thing today of having to ask Dr. Debbie to be shorter than 5 minutes. And so, you know, as insightful as she and the wealth of experience that she brings into the room, we are unfortunately pressed for time. Dr. Rajab, welcome.
Thank you very much indeed. Honorable guests that are present here this morning, all protocols followed, observed, ladies and gentlemen, our very distinguished guests this morning, and it is an honor for us to host you here today and to discuss a matter of very vital importance for our nation's future. Reimagining local democracy, accountability, participation, and renewal in South Africa's municipal sphere. Local government matters. It seeps through the crevices of our homes, through municipal creative negligence, in cracks and leaking roofs, into badly gutted roads and neighborhoods of unattended garbage. It affects our children at schools, victims of pit latrines, patients in under-resourced and poorly managed hospitals with no food or water. It causes accidents on the roads with malfunctioning traffic lights and potholes big enough to bathe the newborn baby in, and stunts the growth of our children. It causes pain to the aged in their dying years. It challenges churches and religious organizations where people gather to pray with no results from God that looks down upon us with little mercy and disdain for the sins of our own making. Yet, Panyaza Lusufi, who used to be an ex-student of mine, is rather somewhat of an ineffective premier of Gauteng, prays outside of Tembisa Hospital, where over 2 billion of taxpayers' money went down the drain into the pockets of tenderpreneurs. His sin was that he and his comrades turned their gaze away from the dastardly act and allowed it to happen unabated. It took a poor single mother, Babita Deokaran, from Phoenix Township to be the lone voice of honesty and to speak out that all was not well at the hospital, that patients were dying and of hunger and thirst. She paid for her honesty with her life in August 2021. Deokaran may be regarded as a true South African. She worked within a system. She refused to condone what many others not only facilitated, but encouraged. As far as she was concerned, she was just doing her job. In his book, The Shadow State, Jeff Wicks, an investigative journalist, followed Babita's footsteps and uncovered a wide and sophisticated network of brazen corruption involving almost the whole value and supply chain at the health department, involving senior members of the department, who were supposed to be looking after the welfare of their wards, who were supposed to be looking after the money which we endowed them to do. Instead, they formed fake companies to be found in single-story houses in the townships, in shacks on the periphery of the city, and the boardrooms of Tembisa Hospital. They were tender-dons and crooked officials who had violated the health system with fake invoices and lies. Wicks connects all the dots, but Deokaran left the breadcrumbs for him to do so. More than national government then, ladies and gentlemen, local government matters. And that is why we are here today. It affects the very marrow of our bones and the enamel on our teeth. So we are gathered here today to ask, what is freedom? What is democracy? When the man in the street has to endure such degradation on a daily basis, whilst leaders wallow in wealth that they did not create, that they have stolen, that they are now wearing shamelessly as labels on their clothing, on their bags, on their shoes, on their belts, on their hats. One would think that Louis Vuitton was a king, and more important than Che Guevara, for that matter, or Nelson Mandela. Numerous challenges impede the achievement of optimal municipal performances, which we must confront if we are wanting to achieve any meaningful change. So in reimagining local democracy, we need to ask ourselves the following questions. How should a good city look? How should a good city look like? What role should citizens be playing in a great city? How do we ensure that our leaders deliver on their promises and take care of the city coffers? So recently, my husband and I returned on a short sojourn to Spain, and where my husband wanted to see the Alhambra in Granada that the Moors had constructed over thousands of years ago. And what strikes one is that even conquerors left their mark in noble architecture. When King Ferdinand III stop the destruction of the mosque in Seville, he asked that the church be built around, encompassing the beautiful architecture. He didn't destroy the building, he preserved it. So in reimagining a city, we were commenting on how Barcelona as a city felt good, because everywhere you went, they thought of the people. They had little benches in alcoves near the parks. They had it all clean. Old people were coming in, and I saw an old lady carrying a bag, meticulously taking in the plastic and putting it in one side, paper in the other, and bottles in the other. An old lady who could hardly walk. But here you see a citizen that has internalized his duty to keep his city in good state. So in turn, how should our citizens behave to uphold their municipalities? Municipalities don't work in isolation. We are also responsible for the mess that we make. One night we were walking in Zagreb, middle of the night, 12 o'clock, and the lights were red, and we thought, who's going to see us? So Bongani Tembe and a couple of others walked across the street, and right up from the top of a building, a voice shouted, "Hey, regard, it's a red light," the voice said. And we thought, oh my God, these people have really internalized it to the nth degree. But this would not happen here in South Africa, because we have become a nation of rule breakers. Currently in KZN, no traffic rules are followed. And this endangers the lives of citizens who feel little need to obey rules in a dysfunctional state. So South Africans are not law-abiding citizens, which further complicates delivery of services in the face of vandalism. And we see what happened at Forte, which is just not done. Siko Mazibi is reported to have said recently that there comes a time in a citizen's life when the educated must admit defeat, not because they have failed, but because the system has failed them. This is the crisis in Africa, not lack of education, not lack of talent, but the deliberate exclusion of capable minds from positions of influence. Political deployment has become the new apartheid that separates the cadres from the qualified. It replaces thinkers from followers with followers and silences those who believe in merit. Ladies and gentlemen, I have painted a rather bleak picture, but challenging one for us is to ponder and to harness our thoughts and actions towards reimagining a better future. Rabindranath Tagore says that, and some of you who may not know this man, but he was a Nobel Peace Prize of Literature in the good days when Nobel Peace Prizes meant something. And he says that on each nation is laid the duty to keep alight their own lamp as its participation in the illumination of the world. Tagore believed that through participation and service, the citizens of a country have a duty to uphold the values which are sacrosanct in this country and the global human family. He believed that through participation and service, there was a living communication between the haves and the have-nots. And so I would like to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, by saying that reimagining our local democracy is not a distant dream. It is a collective responsibility and a strategic imperative. My challenges are formidable, but the opportunities are greater. Each stakeholder has a role to play. Municipalities must lead with integrity and transparency. Civil society must strengthen the oversight and advocacy, and citizens must engage responsibly and actively. And the national government must set the stage for accountable local government. Let us commit ourselves today to share a vision, one where local democracy is renewed, where local democracy is vibrant, and where we begin to turn the tide of decline into a wave of change that will shape a brighter future for all South Africans. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Debbie. We invite the Honourable now Stifton's Country Director, Mr. Gregor Jake, a round of applause for him, please.
Honorable Reverend MEC, dear Dr. Levy, dear Dr. Paul, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the German Konrad Adenauer Foundation, I warmly welcome you to today's conference. My sincere thanks goes to our long-standing partner, the Democracy Development Program, for the kind invitation and for organizing this important gathering here in Durban. DDP is CAS's largest and one of the most valued partners worldwide. Through civic education, public administration training, and support for local civil society, DDP strengthens democratic participation and empowers communities to resolve their own challenges. And these very communities are at the heart of today's discussions. And DDP has a strong voice in shaping them, thanks to its deep roots in local structures. The partnership between CAS and DDP thrives not only because of shared goals, but because of shared values. I look forward with optimism to the conversations ahead and to the ideas and connections that will emerge from today. And I would like to take this opportunity to very briefly share the German perspective on the importance of local government. I choose this viewpoint because you are all far more familiar with the South African context than I am. In Germany and in South Africa, municipalities are the engines of democratic development. International comparison and data evidence that democracy is the form of government that most reliably and sustainably delivers development. Development that delivers jobs, rising incomes, and with it, the chance for individuals to exercise their life choices in freedom. And this is beyond the human dignity that democracy provides intrinsically. Through a system of voting individually, democracy forces the state to see not a people, a tribe, or a social class, but to see individuals with their own self-worth and agency. And finally, a functioning democracy delivers regular change in government that protects against state capture. Other systems of governments are a threat to you, to me, and to our children. Think of the apartheid state that advantaged people of one skin color over the others through state power. Or Russian right-wing populist authoritarianism in which Putin and an immensely corrupt elite exploit the Russian people, much as the left-wing Soviet elite did before. These are warnings that drive us to safeguard, pressure, and develop democracy. And local government is the front line of democracy. It is where citizens experience political participation most directly through decisions about schools, roads, cultural services, and social support. These decisions are tangible, immediate, and relevant to everyday life. And this proximity to people's lived realities makes local government an ideal school for democracy. It is where individuals learn to take responsibility, negotiate compromises, and balance diverse interests. It is where democratic values are not just discussed, but practiced. Civic engagement, political leadership development, and transparent decision-making all begin at the local level. Municipalities are not peripheral. They are the foundation of our democratic culture. And while most German municipalities are characterized by good governance and efficient citizen-oriented administration, we must not ignore the challenges they face. Tight budgets, a shortage of skilled personnel, and growing demands on social infrastructure are pressing issues. And I'm very much looking forward to learning in the coming hours how South Africa is addressing its own challenges in local governance. And through mutual exchange, we can learn a great deal from one another. And if we want to strengthen democracy, we must strengthen our municipalities. Populists from both the left and the right threaten democratic institutions and social cohesion around the world. When local government proves that it is truly there for the people, responsive, solution-oriented and reliable, and when it demonstrates that politics can deliver real progress for the citizens, it becomes the most effective antidote to the oversimplification and division of populists. Let me close by once again expressing my sincere thanks to our institutional and long-time partner, DDP, for organizing this very important event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, round of applause for our chairperson of the board, as well as Gregor from the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. Please can we all rise to welcome the Honorable MEC Reverend Terezi, MEC of the Cooperative Governance and Regional Affairs, as well as a high-ranking member of the Inkatha Freedom Party, and of course, a very important role player within Samazulu, 100% Sababanda. Of course, Izandla.
Thank you very much. We can be seated. Thank you very much for this opportunity, Program Director, Dr. Paul Ariubi, the Executive Director of DDP, Dr. Devi Rajab, the Chairperson of the Board, our esteemed partner, Mr. Gregor Jaike from Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, who leads the Konrad Adenauer team in South Africa, an organization that has a long-standing association with this country, that has contributed immensely to strengthening democracy in South Africa. And I think your presence here, Mr. Jaike, underscores the importance of this gathering, which is here today. Mrs. Iris Dlamini from the IEC, Mr. Spepelo Mshlomo from the Auditor General's Office, Dr. Ndwakulu Chishonga from UKZN, Mr. Jabulo Tokani from Umsodozi Local Municipality Affairs, and Mr. Zabo Nzombo from Mkabatini Local Municipality. Esteemed guests and delegates to this important conference, I must apologize at the very onset because I would have loved to spend the entire day here to benefit from the discussions and the many ideas which I know will come through. But due to the fact that I have to be also at the legislature, unfortunately, I would have to leave before hearing the wonderful discussions that will come through. But I do hope that the executive director will invite me again on a future occasion so that one can participate. I participated in my very first DDP workshop in 2003 when I was leading the IFP Youth Brigade. And there were many other political parties there, especially the youth. And I remember the vibrancy of that workshop at Pumula Beach Hotel in the South Coast. And I can still sense the same vibrancy today that DDP is ensuring amongst our community. Dr. Jaco says, to strengthen democracy, we must strengthen municipalities. And I think it sums up our approach as the government of KwaZulu-Natal as to how we want to transform local government. Therefore, in my short remarks, I will just give a snapshot of the situation as it obtains, and then also hope that at the end of this conference, we can gain insight from what you have discussed so that we enhance the scope of our own interaction and guidance on municipalities. I wish to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to the Development Democracy Program for extending this invitation to us as the KwaZulu-Natal Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. I'm particularly pleased by this invitation because it seeks to address one of the pressing issues that we are dealing with right now as a department and as government as a whole. This year, 2025, marks 25 years of democratic local government. However, the sad reality, as Dr. Rajab has outlined, is that the negative stories often outweigh the positive ones when we reflect on the current state of local government. I say this program director based on the number of reports, audit outcomes, and expert commentaries, as well as observations from civic organizations, including the DDP NPC, which brought us together today. If one reads or listens to these various voices, they paint a grim picture of the state of our municipalities. It is indeed a fact that many of our municipalities are not performing at the level we would like. But besides the obstacles we face, we draw strength from the passion we have for our people and on the understanding that some of the municipalities are doing well. If you go to many countries around the world, the first thing you see when you arrive is a bottle of bottled water. and you are told it is not safe to drink the tap water. But here in Durban and many parts of KwaZulu-Natal, you turn on the tap and it is safe to drink the water. It's not something we take for granted, because while we aspire to be a world-class city in many aspects, many of our people are still grappling with the basics, which is electricity, water, and roads, basic infrastructure. Many young people were only able to find a reliable supply of electricity when they started to enter university. Throughout their primary school and high school, they did not have access to electricity. Many young people get access to running water for the first time when they enter university. So we do not take for granted the strides we've made to ensure that we broaden the access to the most basic of our services, so that people of Umlazi, people of Inanda, people of Lindelani, people of Chesterville enjoy the same level of access to services as you would with residents from Umhlanga, Durban North and West Midland. According to the Auditor General's report 2023-24, our local government sector remains in a dire state, plagued by poor governance, weak accountability, and financial instability. The report reveals that only 16%, 41 out of 247 municipalities, achieved a clean audit. This is a situation that we are hoping to turn around as a government by ensuring that in all municipalities, we bring back the ethos of back to basics, because that is where we have lost the fight. We have lost the basics. That if on the street, the refuse must be collected, it must be collected on time. If a street light is not working, it must be fixed on time. If there is a pothole, it must be fixed on time. And if there is a broken pipe, it must be fixed on time. So those are the basics where we are saying all municipalities must focus on. Because once we focus on the basics, then we will have municipalities that work. We have categorized municipalities into three sections. There are municipalities that are functional. There are municipalities that are at risk. And then there are municipalities that are under distress. Where we are, eThekwini is one of the municipalities which is doing very well, because it is classified as a functional municipality. And we use 6 pillars to evaluate that. And under the 6 pillars, we use 59 indicators to examine each and every aspect of the municipality, from good governance to service delivery, to public participation, to financial stability, and all the pillars. So in spite of the gloom, there is light at the end of the tunnel. But this calls for a greater collaboration from various stakeholders, including political parties, civic groups, ratepayers associations, academics, experts, but most importantly, the citizens who need to participate in the governance of municipalities. Many people do not know that by law, a municipal budget is not allowed to be passed in the council chamber without members of the public in the gallery. Members of the public need to be in the gallery for that budget to be credible. But before that, there needs to be a public participation roadshow which goes to all the various stakeholders so that they have an input into the budget, so that they have an input into the tariffs, and they have an input into the integrated development plan. Therefore, as citizens, your role does not end on voting day, but beyond the voting day, you have a duty to participate in the programs of the municipalities. You have a duty to interrogate the mayor, to say, this is what you promised us at the beginning of the year. This is where we are now as a society. You have a duty to hold your councillor to account, so that what they discuss in the chamber is what translates into reality on the ground. Therefore, a conference such as this really gives us hope that the type of civic duty that you have to hold leadership to account will be greatly enhanced. We remain optimistic that the Municipal Structures Amendment Bill, commonly known as the Coalition's Bill, will be a solution to addressing some of these challenges, because this proposed bill aims to stabilize coalition governments. You know, you have some municipalities where you have 100 councillors, but because no political party has an outright majority, a person holding one seat ends up driving the agenda of the municipality. So in that case, it's no longer about the people, but it's now about the politicians themselves. And the decisions they make are decisions not in the interest of the people, but are decisions which aim to secure their own positions. I went to a municipality last year where the bridges had collapsed, there was no refuse removal, and the roads had become into a disrepair. But the leaders of that municipalities had bought for themselves 3 brand new X5 BMWs. So in the chamber, they said that is more important, their own comfort and luxury, than to address the service delivery backlog in the community. So that is what happens when citizens do not exercise their power to hold leaders to account. But beyond the governance challenges, we hope that this local government conference will also focus on the socio-economic pressures that face our people. Rising unemployment, poverty and inequality continue to place immense strain on municipalities and their ability to fulfill statutory obligations. I met with the senior leader of a major bank in Johannesburg, and they said, well, technology is good and artificial intelligence is good, but it comes at a human cost, because they now have to close down 41 branches of their bank, which means those people who are working as tellers now must go home and be unemployed. Now, the socio-economic challenges facing our people is not something we can shy away from as delegates to this conference. And therefore, the aspect of local economic development is something that I hope will also get your attention. Earlier this month, 13 KwaZulu-Natal municipalities were bestowed with national honors by the COGTA Minister, the Honorable Mr. Velekosini Hlabisa, in various categories at the National Good Governance Awards. The 13 municipalities include eThekwini Metro, King Cetshwayo District, Ulundi, Mkhambathini, Msinga, Umdoni, Umzimkhulu, Ubuhlebezwe, Umvoti, Umshwathi, Umlalazi, Richmond, and KwaDukuza, who received honors for, amongst others, clean audit, adopting funded budgets, and making sure that 100% of the conditional grants are spent for what they are intended. And therefore, as COGTA, our focus for the next few months will be on the following three issues. One, ensuring that there is good governance at municipal level, which means regular council meetings and portfolio committee meetings. Two, training of councillors and officials on governance principles, and also the strengthening of the MPEC, which is the Municipal Public Accounts Committee, to exercise their oversight function. As I draw to a close, in KwaZulu-Natal, we cannot talk about local government without speaking about traditional leadership, because all our municipalities are based and are situated on traditional land. And therefore, in our efforts to transform local government, we must bring Amakhosi along and ensure that the voice of traditional leadership